until the death of her father in 1899. James Hull left no money behind to support his widow, but thanks to her son-in-law's success, Mrs. Hull was financially secure. She remained with the family and helped to care for the girls. The Burdicks lived in a large, beautiful home on fashionable Ashland Avenue in the Elmwood Village neighborhood near Millionaire's Row. The family employed a full-time cook and a maid who lived on the third floor of the home. The names Alice and Edwin Burdick were fixtures in the society columns that chronicled the activities of the local gentry. Their names appear in numerous stories about upper-crust dances, weddings, teas, and receptions, often accompanied by a description of the gown Alice wore to the event. Ed and Alice were part of an insulated social group of about 20 wealthy couples, whom the press called the Elmwood Avenue set. The group frequented the Red Jacket Golf Club, of which Ed was honorary president, and the Elmwood Avenue Dance Club. There was a faint element of seediness about the Elmwood Avenue set. They were rumored to drink, throw wild parties, and generally behave in a way that was not altogether refined. However, these were only rumors. The group purposely kept their distance from their fellow citizens, which added to their mystique. Like a distant mountain range, their mansions and fantastic wealth created the backdrop of turn-of-the-century Buffalo. In August 1902, Ed and Alice's eldest daughter, Marion, was profiled in the newspapers for an act of heroism. The morning news explained that the girl had been driving alone in her father's electric wagon. The interior insulation of the vehicle caught fire on Delaware Avenue near Johnson Park, and the brake refused to work. At a speed that sometimes exceeded 10 miles per hour, through some of the most crowded thoroughfares of Buffalo, crossing 4 double-track trolley lines, the distance being more than 2 miles. That no disaster resulted was due to the constant coolness displayed by the child. Steering a burning, out-of-control car through 2 miles of crowded city streets wouldn't be easy for anyone, let alone a young girl. It makes for an interesting story, but the typical reader might have been more struck by the Burdick family's great wealth than the coolness displayed by their teenage daughter. In 1903, the average annual income for a full-time worker was approximately $470, while the average cost of an automobile was $625. Few cars existed because only the very rich had the disposable income to buy and operate them. Everything about the Burdicks, their marriage, family, home, and possessions, seemed perfect. Theirs was a life that others could only imagine. Alice's indiscretions. The elegant, polished image the Burdicks presented to the world was merely a facade, a smokescreen to disguise their volatile and unhappy marriage. By February 1903, their divorce was imminent. It was the end of a long road that had begun 2 years earlier. In 1900, Ed and Alice were on especially good terms with 3 other couples in the Elmwood Avenue set. They often socialized with Seth and Gertrude Payne, J.B. and Helen Warren, and Arthur and Carrie Pennell. The Pennells' lives would soon collide with the Burdicks in a fantastic way. Arthur Reed Pennell was a likable person with a romantic history. He was born aboard his father's ship on the South Pacific Ocean. John Pennell was a renowned sea captain, and Arthur, his parents, and his younger brother John traveled continually during the early years of his life. Captain Pennell died suddenly when Arthur was 13, and Mrs. Pennell took her sons to her family's home in Maine. Arthur was highly intelligent and had a great appreciation for the arts and music. After college, he attended Yale Law School, where he graduated with honors. He married Carrie Lamb in 1891, and the following year, the couple moved to Buffalo. The Pennells thrived in their adopted city. They quickly became friendly with the Burdicks and joined the Elmwood Avenue set. The Pennells had no children, but they liked the Burdicks' daughters. The Burdicks' children, in fact, placed no constraints on the time or behavior of their parents. Mrs. Hull did much of the parenting that would otherwise have been a demand upon Alice's time. Servants saw to their meals and picked up after them. Ed got to know Arthur when they golfed together, and they became close friends.